right, welcome to our March 2025 State TA Day call. Great to see everyone. Hope everyone's having a wonderful week. We are going to start today. We have some FFN Advisory Council and Support Grant updates. We have Christina Herman here to present.
Thank you, Charlie. Hello, I'm
Thank you.
Christina. I'm Christina Herman, the FFN Administrator at the Colorado Department of Early Childhood. It's critical for our FFN community to have common space to meet and advocate for the FFN community. One of those spaces is the FFN Advisory Council. And the purpose of the FFN Advisory Council is advice to the Department of Early Childhood Education and legislators and other organizations about the barriers, the needs, and recommend changes in regulations, policies, funding, and procedures that can benefit the FFN community. I will address next month the topic about how to run a business for an FFN provider. I let them the link for the meeting. Also, we have a newsletter, and in this newsletter I used to send information that is pertinent for the FFN community and organizations that work with the community, the FFN community also. If you would like to share any information, you can reach me and then I can send to the FFNs. Also, that is the most amazing thing today is that we are going to, CSPC is going to open, they already opened their second round of the FFN Support Program grant. So I can leave in the chat the information about the session that they record and also the links for the application of the grants. So I hope you could apply to this grant, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. Looks like the links might be okay. You're on it. Cool. Sorry. And it looks like we do have Doc in the chat. You may need to update the access to that one too when you get a second. Everyone can view it. Cool. And we have your email address here in the agenda. So if anyone has any questions about the grant or about the advisory council, please reach out to Christina. All right, we have Elaine to talk about some really exciting PDIS updates. So handing it over.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am get my screen share going. Okay, so we've got some new and exciting features and updates in the PDIS that I wanted to share with you all. And sorry, introductions. My name's Elaine Maskus. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the PDIS manager in our workforce division at the Department of Early Childhood. So today there are 4 things I want to share with this group. First is there's a new past employments table for program leadership. There's also updates to the approved trainer process, specifically for family child care home pre-licensing and standard precautions trainers. I want to give a little bit of information on the language expansion, and we're adding some more languages to the PDIS. And then just a sneak peek of a new feature for adding employment outside of licensed care programs into the system. And I put this presentation together with a migraine yesterday and I have not reviewed it. So I'm hoping everything's in here, but please just ask questions if for whatever comes up, and if there's something that isn't clear on here, just let me know and I'll do my best to answer it. All right, we are going to start with the new past employees table. So the goal of this is to support program leadership in managing their employees within the PDIS. And then also to encourage programs to add work experience hours for staff directly into the PDIS. And doing this means that these hours will automatically be calculated into those staff members' ECPC applications. And it's just, I could have written that better, but better tracking of these hours. You know, if it's in the system, it's in the system and they get credit for it versus having to track the different letters. Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
So just based on that, I'm so sorry. So you're asking the directors or administrators of the childcare program to put the hours in?
Yeah, it's not a requirement by any means, but it is an option that we encourage for these reasons. Yeah, great question. All right, so what does this look like? This is just a screenshot kind of in the bottom half here, but for program leadership, what they will see when they log into the PDIS is a My Employees tab at the top menu. And when they click that, it will go, and how it's been set up is they'll be able to see a list of all of their current staff. They'll be able to verify that those staff work there, update the job roles and all of that kind of information. And now there is a new, just below that current employees table, there is a new table for past employees that looks like this. So it's going, this past employees table is going to have all of the former employees that had their employment information in the PDIS. So it's not going to be a history of everyone who's ever worked at the program. We only have the history of the people who had an employment record at that program, but they will all show up there. People will kind of move from the current list to this past employees list when they get their employment status changes to verified and no longer active. And that happens either if a director or a workforce manager or someone goes in and changes that status and says this person no longer works here, or if there's an end date on someone's employment record and that end date passes, they'll get moved to this past employees table. Until mid-June, so from now until mid-June, program leadership is able to edit the information on all past employees. So anyone that has had their information in the PDIS that shows up here will be able to edit hire date, end date, job roles held, ages served, and add verified experience for that staff. Starting in mid-June, we're going to put a restriction in place so that program leadership will only be able to edit this information for 30 days after a staff member's employment ends, which is in line with the licensing rule for when that experience letter needs to be written. So we're trying to get all of our systems aligned. All right, that is what I had to share about this past employees new feature. What questions? Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Real quick, sorry. On this one, Elaine, so if, as an example, if I leave the workforce, maybe I'm having a baby, whatever, and I come back a year later, my employer wouldn't be able to edit that. So what would be my avenue to get my hours updated for where I'm going to go back to work?
Yeah, great question. So when you leave for whatever reason, the best practice would be to end date that employment and to have the director add those however many experience hours you've had there up to that date. And then whenever you're ready to come back, you would create a new employment record at that same program And this is a screenshot, so this isn't an actual link, but there is a link to the how-to guide in the guidance on the page that tells people how to do that. I think if it's, a short-term leave, that can be up to the program, how they want to handle that. But if it's, a year or more, we would probably recommend ending that first employment and then re-adding a new record when you start again.
So at that point, when they re-add the new record, then they could update and I'm assuming like maybe they didn't update my experience when I left.
Yeah, so
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely could happen. And that's where we're trying to share this out and get as many hours added in for all of these staff that have left in the next 3 months. But there is on the back end, we are able to add experience hours even after that 30-day window has closed. So if there is information that people want added in, they can reach out to the help desk and we would get that.
Thanks. That's great.
Of course. Any other questions?
So I do. So
Yeah.
the work experience letter is only when they terminate, not when they currently are working for you?
My understanding is that it can be either. So if someone has been working at your program for 5 years and they're ready to apply for an ECPC, you could write a letter at that time so that they get credit for those hours in their credential. My understanding is the only requirement for when these letters are written is after an employment ends. But you can programs can also add experience hours for current staff. So if programs want to do that on an annual basis, they just say this is how many hours each person worked in the last year, and then every year just keep adding that in. That would also work.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, yeah. All right, next is updates to the approved trainer process. So this is for family child care home pre-licensing, standard precautions, and a little more information on the new approved trainers page. So just some background. The department approves trainers for a few different courses. You can kind of see a list here. And historically, these approved trainers have been added to a Google Sheet that holds everything. We have been working to transition this process to be more streamlined and aligned with within the PDIS. So we are last fall, we started this with the CPR first aid training vendor process being moved into the PDIS. And so this is a continuation of that. And there is a new application for people who want to train either of these courses. So they'll just go into the PDIS, into the credentials and qualifications page and click new application. And then they'll see the application for CPR first aid, standard precautions, and family child care home pre-licensing. The fields are all pretty similar across all three applications, with, of course, the specific criteria for whatever the training is. Here is a how-to guide that we are still putting some final touches on, but for the most part, it walks through the steps for these applications, and they were released on the 16th. So they've been in place for about a week and a half. Then the other piece is an updated approved trainers page. So this is long-term goal is that this new page is going to replace that Google Sheet document that held all of that. And the sheet or the new page is within the PDIS. Here is a link to the new page. And this is a kind of a screenshot of what it looks like. So it is within the PDIS resources menu. So you can access it whether you're logged in or not. You'll see that resources menu, and the bottom item on that resources menu is this CDEC approved trainers page. It now holds all of the newly approved trainers for CPR, first aid, wilderness first aid, standard precautions, and pre-licensing, if the trainers have opted to be put on the public list. So not all trainers will show up here if they have chosen to not show up here. And this is only since these new applications have been released. So it's only newly awarded applications, but as time goes on, it will hold everyone. And then we're kind of excited about the functionality here. So there's a search bar where you can type in the name of the trainer. That if you're looking for someone in specific, if you're looking for an organization, you can type in the name of the organization. You can, really search for whatever you're looking for, or you can use these filter fields below. So if you just want to look for people who can train in Spanish, then you can filter the whole table for Spanish, and it will only show up people who teach in that language. Similar for course type. So that is this remote? Is it hybrid, or is it in person? County, if you're just looking for people in your area. And then expiration date is also something if you're looking to schedule a training in the next 2 months, you can search for an expiration date to make sure that the trainer's approval will still be active by the time you're ready to do the training. Julia, could you just give a little more context for that question? What notification?
Well, I'm trying to understand, as I'm an approved trainer, have been for many, many, many years, but I've not received any communication about this. And I also supervise staff that are med admin and first aid CPR trained and standard precautions. And again, they've not received anything, nor have I. So I'm trying to understand, as these changes are being made, how are they being informed to the organization or the individual?
Yeah, that's a great question. Jen, I will let you chime in, but I'm happy to answer and fill in any gaps.
Yeah, so we have sent direct emails to approved trainers for both first aid, free licensing, and standard precautions directly from our training inbox to all approved trainers. So if you reach out to me, Julia, we'll go through and I'll make sure that you're on the list that we've been sending out. I feel fairly confident that you are. It could be an email spam situation, right, where things are getting caught in spam. But we've sent out direct targeted emails, both to first aid. I think we sent out like 3 or 4 before it went live. Same thing with these 2 new ones. I will share that if you are currently approved, you are still currently approved. Your expiration date didn't change. So on the back end, we can see all those approvals, and licensing can see all those approvals. So nothing has changed on the back end for folks with this new application. This is for folks going forward.
Great. So Jennifer, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Does that mean that now we have to apply for an additional credential to teach pre-licensing versus just being a trainer and have completed the courses?
No, the requirements are all the same. It's just of where and how you apply. So it used to be, if you remember, like pre-licensing was you had to do like certain things in certain places. Standard precautions was a different process. First aid was a different process. So now the process is going to be the same for all of the trainings, and it will be considered an application under credentials and qualifications, but nothing has changed as far as the requirements to teach these courses.
But going back, it is still a process where, so I have external first aid CPR people and I have external med admin people that don't necessarily log into PDIS. So now I'm hearing I have to have them log in to be able to get them to show up on your list.
Yes, and that process, yes, that is true.
So I had not received any of that communication. So Jennifer, I would love to set up a time that we can talk about that process and how I can better support my staff.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, and if anyone else is wanting more information on this, we have been sending out emails and plan to send out a couple more. And so you can email me. I just put my email in the chat and we'll make sure that you're getting the right communications. Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I just want to share a couple other wins really with this new list. So for example, we get questions a lot on, are there any first aid trainers who speak Arabic, for example? And we didn't have a good inventory of that. It turns out we do have that. And so folks can now find first aid trainers who speak Arabic more easily. We get similar questions for med admin trainers who speak Spanish. And with our current processes, we haven't had a way to track all of that. I also will say that med admin application is not going live until the end of June. So if you have folks who are med admin trainers, they haven't received any communication about that yet. Yes, and question?
Will this duplicate or replace the list that's currently on Healthy Childcare Colorado for some of these trainer approvals, or will this just be an addition?
It's going to replace eventually the med admin one.
So just the med admin one, because Healthy Childcare Colorado has a complete list of safe sleep, pre-licensing, med administration, CPR first aid, that you can list, like the professional can list themselves in that data system through Healthy Childcare Colorado, and it's a search engine that you can search by location, subject matter.
So I have not seen that list. The approved list that licensing refers to is the current Google Sheet one that's still available and live for everybody. And that's the one that licensing refers to. So I wasn't aware that there was a separate one, and maybe Healthy Childcare Colorado is linking to ours. I'm not actually sure. So I can find out about that, and I will follow up and reach back out.
And I just put the Google document link in the chat, if that is helpful for people to see the different places that we're talking about. And thank you, Claudia, I got that. Any other questions? Sorry, I didn't
I
quite
have
catch
a-
that.
Oh. I have a question. So if you're a train the trainer and you are certified to train the standard precautions and you have staff, that can you teach it to your own staff members? Or do you have to be tied to a council?
I don't believe you have to be tied to a council, but each trainer will need to be approved individually. We aren't at this point approving whole organizations. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Mhm.
Julia?
Oh, hi everyone. So my question, that kind of goes back to my question. It's like, so you're moving so what I'm trying to understand is if we're teaching first aid CPR, we're teaching standard precautions, is med admin goes through Healthy Childcare Colorado. Is that also going to move? Because I was told I needed to re-cert for pre-licensing, which I did. And then now I am hearing that I have to do something else. I've had the same email address for PDIS since it started. And to not be included in these communications is very concerning. So I'm trying to figure out, and I know, Jen, we talked that we would go through some of this, but I mean, how is this going to impact individuals' overall licensing when I have a first aid CPR class in a week and a half with someone that's not on this list?
So the current, if you are on the current Google Sheet, which has been in existence for as long as I've been here, almost 10 years, if you're on that current Google Sheet, then you are on the back end. We have your approval, and also the current Google Sheet is still active and live and accurate. So everything is fine as far as folks who have a current approval. If you're not showing on the public list, the reason that we did that for all current approvals is because we didn't want to make the decision for all current trainers what information they wanted to show up on the public list without verifying. with them first. So if you want your name to show up on the public list, it's simple, go through the application. It's 3 questions. Pre-licensing is actually just looks at your trainer credential. And if you've completed the train the trainer, and automatically approves you if you've met those criteria. So I'm hoping that the application process and getting you on the list should be quick. As far as the emails are concerned, it's gone out in a couple of different ways. So I want to touch base and make sure where the breakdown is happening.
Great. One other question though. So there are multiple licensing specialists across the state. How are they accessing your back end list?
Through our licensing Salesforce system that they all have access to.
And it is up to date and current.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I don't want people come back going, oh, they said, because, and I heard Elaine say, we're not doing organizations, we're doing individuals, but a lot of individuals work for organizations. So that is a challenge in and of itself. I mean, I hire people, I train them, I send them through your trainings, I do all of that. But how come we as an entity cannot be approved?
So this is, I think, a larger conversation.
Great. I'm glad to have it.
Yeah, I would love to have it. So
Perfect.
let's connect and talk it through.
Yep. I'll send you an email soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Any other questions about this? All right. Next, we will talk about language expansion and the introduction of Arabic. So there are kind of 2 changes that are coming. One is this new translation widget is what it's called. It basically is, we're expecting the way that people use it will not change. It'll be in the same part of the page. It will look the same. You'll select the language you want and the page will translate. But the underlying technology is different, and the underlying technology is going to allow for better and more consistent translations. For anyone who has tried to use the PDIS in Spanish, I'm sure you have noticed that there are some gaps in our translations. So this is going to make it so that the entire site 100% is translated into both Spanish and Arabic. And then in addition to just having the site text available in Arabic, we will also be releasing most of our required courses that have been fully translated and are now fully available in Arabic. We would love to have the site available in every language, but one thing that we're doing with this process is we're trying to be really intentional about making sure that it's a high quality translation. So we're not just using the default Google Translate. We're building in specific terms to make sure that things are being translated appropriately. But in doing that, there's a lot more like quality control and effort. So at this point, we are expanding to Arabic in the PDIS, but that is that's our big undertaking at the moment. We are expecting to release this in April. We want to make sure that we're able to test it well and that things are looking good before we release it. So at this point, we're thinking the second half of April, but we have been sending out emails in the monthly PDIS newsletter with more information. And then we'd also just love to hear feedback once we do release it. There's a lot of pieces going into it, and we know that it won't be perfect. So we will be also sharing a form for providing feedback once it's all released. Any questions related to this? Awesome. And then the last thing I have is a sneak peek that I think this group of people will hopefully be excited about. We have made some changes to how employment records work in the PDIS so that people who work outside of licensed care programs can be better represented. So you'll see there is, better the goal is to have better support and insight into all of the wonderful professionals that really contribute to the early childhood field in Colorado, but don't necessarily work at licensed programs. So this includes early childhood council staff, LCO staff, trainers, coaches, support organizations, really just kind of casting a wide net. So what it'll look like and what you can do now is there's a new field called what type of work that you do. And one option is licensed care, and then another option is other early childhood organization. There is also an option for family, friend, and neighbor informal care providers to have the work that they do better represented. Right now, there's this what organization do you work for field. The only organizations that are showing up right now are early childhood councils, but we are building out a process for adding any organization to this list. So we're hoping to get this kind of process nailed down in the next month or two, and then we'll share out with everyone. But the goal is to have, any organization that wants to be represented in the PDIS, we'll just submit this form. As long as it meets the criteria, we'll add it to this list, and then anyone will be able to update their employment records. Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
So, will this count towards ECPC experience?
Great question. As I'm sure everyone here knows, the experience, the way that we collect and value experiences, there's a lot of different facets to it. Right now, we are only within the automated reporting of experience hours in the PDIS, only counting direct care hours, though we know that coaches and other professionals are putting in a lot of important hours. But because they're different types of experience and they get counted different ways, these non-licensed employments will not have that direct experience hour reporting.
And is that being worked on to include FFN experience in particular into credentials?
That is a great question, and I would say more of a policy question than I have the knowledge to answer. I don't know if there's anyone else on this call that feels like they can chime in, but that is a good question. Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
I'll just say that it's definitely something that has been elevated for our awareness and consideration. I think with the infrastructure that Christina is leading with the FFN Advisory Council and some of the things that they've been looking into in terms of recommendations for the state, this is something that will be explored. There are a lot of constraints related to being able to do that, but we're hearing that there are questions. And so this is something I would say that the FFN Advisory Council will be looking at over the next year in some way. Thanks, Che.
Thank you.
Okay, and I am realizing I am over the time that I asked for, but that is all I have. The last thing I wanted to share is this feedback form. This is also located at the footer of all of our pages in the PDIS, but you guys that are in the system know what it needs the best, and so we would love to hear your feedback. I read the entries every Friday, so I promise these don't go to a void, but we look at them and we see what we're able to address. Thank you for the time and for all of the questions. It was great talking with everyone today.
Thank you so much, Elaine. Lots of super exciting stuff, and yeah, please, we always want to hear your feedback and talk to you folks when things are not working the way that we're intending them to. So please always reach out. If you don't know exactly who to reach out to our help desks, and we will make sure to get you in touch with the correct people. All righty. We have Julio, who is going to talk to us about the UPK Resource Bank and do a demo for us.
Yes, thank you so much, Charlie, and good afternoon and muy buenas tardes. Thank you all so much for joining us for this demonstration of the Universal Preschool Resource Bank. As Charlie mentioned, my name is Julio Alas. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Professional Learning and Design Unit Manager within the Division of Early Childhood Workforce. And I'm so excited to get this opportunity to spend some time with you all today to show you how to navigate the first iteration of the UPK Resource Bank and spend some time giving you an opportunity to learn about how to navigate through this site. And so as we go through this presentation, I'm sure that folks are going to have questions and that you're going to have lots of wonderings about this, and rest assured that we will have some time to address them all at the end. So I kindly ask that you please hold your questions until then, or go ahead and type them into the chat, and we'll make sure to talk about those when we are ready at the end of the demonstration. So with that, I did want to start us off and briefly review what do we even mean by the term resource bank. So for those of you that may not be as familiar, the Universal Preschool Resource Bank is essentially a collection of foundational resources that's including tools, templates, guidance, and information to help universal preschool programs and educators align their practices with the UPK quality standards rules that were adopted in March of 2024. Now, these rules reflect extensive stakeholder input and fulfill the vision of the Colorado legislature to ensure that children have a high quality preschool experience in a system that brings together schools, communities, early learning centers, and family childcare homes to meet the needs and the desires of families. I also want to share how the resource bank is organized. And so when you log into the website that I'm going to show here in just a few moments, you're going to notice that the resource bank is organized into 3 content areas that you can see pictured here on your screen. Now, these content areas are aligned to the 3 universal preschool quality standards, which are family and community engagement, healthy development, and instructional practice. Additionally, once you click on one of the content areas, you're going to be taken to a page that organizes all of these resources into 3 different sections, which include what you see here on the screen of Learn More, which is going to provide general information on the quality standards and links to other relevant resources. You're then going to see Colorado Connections, where you're going to find links to other state initiatives or partners who have expertise in each quality standard. And then finally, you're going to see tools and templates, which includes just that, tools and templates that are going to help preschool providers meet each quality standard. And you might be thinking to yourself, wow, this is a lot of information. How am I going to remember all of this? I do want to let you know that we have all of this information related to the resource bank inside of what we're calling the UPK Resource Bank Toolkit that you see pictured here on the screen. I'm going to be sharing this link to this resource in the chat in just a few moments. But if you don't have access to this, please make sure to reach out to either your LCO or your LCO specialist so that you can review this helpful resource and have all of the information that you need about the UPK Resource Bank. You're also going to notice once you open up the link that I'm going to share in just a few moments that this resource is prepared as a slide deck. So if you wanted, you could even use it as a presentation for key partners that are wanting to learn more about the resource bank. So I'm going to go ahead and in the chat, I'm going to share that now. And you will have access. And again, I'm going to be sharing a lot of links today. And so know that I will pass these on to Charlie and his team so that they can add them to the agenda and you can have them all stored there as well in that follow-up email that they send you after the meeting. Now, before I get into the actual demonstration itself, I want to also share just a brief overview video that you all are going to have access to as well. That's both in English and in Spanish that provides helpful information about the resource bank. So we're going to pause for a moment now and take a moment to listen to this video, and then I will share these links so that you have access to those in the chat.
Welcome to the Colorado Universal Preschool Resource Bank. The Resource Bank is an excellent tool and it's easy to explore. So let's get started. What will you find here? A wonderful collection of foundational resources including templates, guidance, and information to help universal preschool programs and educators align their practices with the Universal Preschool Quality Standards rules. All of these resources are organized into 3 content areas which align with the 3 Universal Preschool Quality Standards: family and community engagement, healthy development, and instructional practice. The Resource Bank also includes links to other helpful information, including frequently asked questions, the Universal Preschool Provider Handbook, the Professional Development Information System, or the PDIS, special education within the Universal Preschool Program, and Colorado Shines. Let's dig a little deeper. Remember the 3 Universal Preschool Quality Standards that have helped us organize the Resource Bank? You can find them on the homepage or on the tabs at the top of the Resource Bank. Family and community engagement supports all aspects of children's identities by recognizing that families are children's first caregivers and most important teachers. Healthy development supports the healthy minds and bodies of each child. And instructional practice focuses on the learning experiences offered to children, which should support the development of the whole child and include ongoing assessment of children's learning. Each Universal Preschool Quality Standard has a content area in the Resource Bank, and each content area is divided into sections. Learn more, Colorado Connections, and Tools and Templates. In the Learn More section, you'll find resources to help you understand why that content area is important, as well as tools, like checklists, to help you meet requirements and support quality. Let's take a look at an example of a checklist. By selecting the drop-down arrow, you can expand the Requirements Checklist section. Here, we see a link to the Family and Community Engagement Checklist. This checklist serves as a guide for preschool providers to self-assess their policies and procedures in meeting the quality standards for family and community engagement within the Colorado Universal Preschool Program. The next section, Colorado Connections, will help you find local partners with expertise in each content area, regardless of where you are located within the state. And finally, the Tools and Templates section contains everything from sample policy language to documents and reports for each school year. Let's take a look at a sample policy. Selecting the drop-down arrow next to sample policy language will expand this section and display links to the various sample policies that are available. To view a sample policy, simply select the link for the one you are interested in. The exact resources you'll find within each of these 3 sections will vary depending on which quality standard you are exploring, so we encourage you to take some time to review all 3 content areas. And be sure to come back to the Resource Bank regularly for reminders and to catch anything new. For more information on the Resource Bank, you can visit the PDIS. Navigate to the Resources tab, and then select Colorado Universal Preschool Resource Bank. Scroll down to Contact Us if you need to reach out.
All right, so there you have that, and I just placed those links into the chat. And again, I will make sure that Charlie has these so that you can see them on the agenda for easier access later on when you are ready to explore those. But we do want to go ahead and now head over to the actual Resource Bank. And so I'm going to switch screens here in just a moment so that you can see what it looks like and learn a little bit more about how to navigate it. And I do want to note that this is the first iteration of the Resource Bank. And I want to share that for now, it's going to be housed in this Google site that you're going to see. However, this summer, we will be transitioning to the second iteration of the Resource Bank that's going to be housed within the PDIS. And so we'll make sure to share more of that information once that second iteration is up and running. But for now, let's go ahead and take a peek at the actual Resource Bank. So it looks like I stopped sharing my screen. Just a moment, we'll head back there. All right, so here we are at the home page, just waiting for that to load. There we go. So this is what you're going to see when you click on the link that takes you to the resource bank. As you saw in the video, you can navigate using the tabs that are across the screen at the top right corner. And on this landing page, you'll find general information about the quality standards and links so that you can read those. And then once again, the 3 content areas or quality standards, and getting to click these buttons here. You can click on the images or on these buttons with the actual name of the standard to take you to read a little bit more and see the resources. If you keep scrolling down, again, you'll see general information like FAQs, information around finding the Universal Preschool Handbook, the PDIS, and so on. And then at the very bottom, you just see more information about how all of this came to be. So with that, why don't we go ahead and take a peek at family and community engagement like you saw in the video. And I'll share that as I've been chatting with folks in the community about this, some of the things that people have really kind of been drawn towards are these checklists. So I want to show you where to be able to find those under the Learn More section. It starts off here with a connection to quality that talks a little bit about the background, the connections to how we know that this is indeed something that is quality. You can find a resource that will take you to a link to find a list of all of the references that helped inform the development of these standards. But here is that checklist piece that I want to show you that some folks are finding really helpful. When I click on this link, it's going to take me over to this checklist. So I'm switching screens here again. Oops, I did a stop share, just a moment. There we go. And so you'll be able to see here this checklist that is just going to load in just a moment. All right, there it is. And you can use this as a reference, make a copy of it, and you'll notice these buttons that allow you to actually check off these practices that can support providers in knowing if they are indeed meeting the family and community engagement standard. Now, I know that I am going a little bit fast here, but I rest assured that you all are going to have access to this. So I just really want to orient you right now, but you all will have time to be able to dig into this with more time. But this is definitely one of those pieces that folks are definitely finding interesting and wanting to know more about. So we have that piece there. We're going to go ahead and head back to the resource bank. There we go. If I keep scrolling down, here's where you see that section of Colorado Connections, where you can find information to other partners across the state that have expertise in this particular quality standard. Again, here are the drop-down menus to show you access to those links. And then finally, the tools and templates. And again, I want to share with you another piece of the resource bank that folks have shared with me that they found to be helpful under sample policy language. Some providers may be out there and say, gosh, I either don't have a policy that relates to this quality standard, or maybe I really need to update the current policy to know that I am indeed meeting this requirement. And so if you click on these links here, they will take you over to a resource that looks like this. And it gives you, again, an example of what the quality standard is requiring and asking for, giving you background information and access to other links that can support your understanding. But this part down here under sample policy is something that might be of interest to folks who, again, are looking to either create their own policy that relates to the quality standard or update their current policies. And so here, again, you can see that sample policy language, and then right there to the right, the examples. I'm just going to pause briefly to give folks a moment to be able to see that. But again, you will have time to be able to look these over here once we're done with the presentation and really give you some time to look at this more calmly. So I'm going to go ahead and head back to the resource bank. That is basically what you will find within each one of the content standards, again, or quality standards. Again, I can use the tabs to navigate to whichever quality standard I am interested in. And then finally back to the home button, and that'll take me back here to where we originally started. So that said, we're going to go ahead and head back to the presentation, and I'm going to share a little bit more about next steps and how we would love to get some of your feedback. So the last thing that I want to talk a little bit more about is ensuring that over these next 2 weeks, starting from today, we really want to invite all of you on this call to begin reviewing the resource bank and provide any feedback that you might be having about the content that you find on this website. Now, please note that we are only looking for feedback about the content, as the design and the layout of the resource bank are going to follow the similar format once we do transition it over to the PDIS. Essentially, we really want to know what content you're finding helpful, what content may need to change, and what content we should be thinking about adding. And additionally, if you do have strong feelings about the design, please feel free to add them, but do note that we won't be able to make big, major foundational changes to the overall layout and the design of the resource bank once it is in the PDIS. Now, we do ask that all of your feedback be submitted through the resource bank feedback form that you see pictured here on your screen. In just a moment, I'll be placing a few links into the chat so that you can access the resource bank. We do have it available in Spanish, so you'll have a link to access a Spanish version of the resource bank, and then also the feedback form that you see here. Now, I also recognize that there might be some LCOs on the call, and you all got to see this demo about 2 weeks ago, I believe. And so please continue to use your LCO request form to share your feedback. But if you are not an LCO, you're going to want to use the link that I'm going to be sharing here in just a moment. Now, as you see on the slide, we do want to ensure that you submit all of your feedback no later than 5 p.m. on Thursday, April 10th, 2025, because we want to have enough time to review all of the feedback that folks send into us so that we can add that into the official Google site that will launch here at the end of April. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into the chat here. So if y'all give me just a moment, we will share that. Boom, boom, boom. So it's going to be 3 links. You're going to have one for the English resource, the English version of the resource bank, the Spanish version, and then the resource bank feedback form. All right, that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. I do want to go ahead and open it up for questions if there are any. In addition to that, I'm going to put Jessica Burnett, our amazing LCO unit manager's information into the chat. If you are interested and have more questions, please feel free to reach out to her or submit any questions or feedback you might have through that form that I placed here in the chat. So I'm just going to share that and open up the floor. If there are any questions, feel free to raise your hands or type into the chat.
There was one request for for you to share one of the documents, but the link to everything you shared will be within the links you've already shared, right? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And if you find that you can't access something, if you get an error message, please put that in the feedback form, and then we'll make sure to promptly get that accessible for you all. Or again, feel free to reach out to Jessica and we can fix that pretty quickly. So yeah. All right. Well, it appears there aren't any questions, but thank you all. If there is anything, please, I'm going to be sticking around for a little bit longer. We do have Jessica as well on the call. If there are any questions, or again, send them via email or through that form. We're excited to hear what you all think about this resource bank and really looking forward to getting some of that feedback. So thank you all for your time and attention today.
Thank you, Julio and Jessica. And yeah, what a wonderful resource. Hopefully this, this is going to be a really valuable tool. So please take some time in the next week or so to look it over and let us know if you have feedback. All right, Leah Grossman is going to give us some EQIT updates.
Hi, everybody. Eva is out, so I'm here quickly just to give you a few updates about what we have going on right now. Happily, we'll answer any questions if you have any. So up first, we just want to say thank you to all of you for turning in your council contract documents. We have received them, and I am reviewing your course plans and just double checking things like dates, second instructors, all the good stuff. So I will be following up with you if I have any questions about what your plans are, but that should help us streamline that process as we're moving forward to put courses into PDIS for the next fiscal year. So thank you. Our budget spend down, just those reminders, please check your Smartsheet tracker to make sure that you are we've got that accurate number for what you are spending, and make sure you're submitting those invoices. We are pretty tight and we want to make sure that we are putting our money to its best use. So that's your regular reminder there. As far as our annual EQ statewide meeting goes, registration will be open very soon. As soon as we have the go-ahead, I will send that information out. I know Eva sent an email out to the councils letting you know that you could request additional support for travel. With that first round that we received, those requests are on hold right now as we're reviewing them to see where funding is at, and hopefully we'll be able to open that up later on. We will this year have registration also in PDIS before the statewide meeting even happens, so that everybody who attends receives the professional development hours without any stress. So we're excited to keep streamlining and making things easier for you so you can document the work that you're doing. And last but not least, our infant toddler specialist updates. We're starting an EQ Relate coaching recertification next week. So that's for coaches who received our EQ with Relate coaching training, and it's been some time since they've coached. We're bringing them back through and helping them get recertified so they can be coaching out in your communities. We are also starting our reflective supervision group for EQ Relate coaches, and we are almost full. But I sent that registration information out. If you think any of your specialists are interested, please just have them send me an email and we'll see if we can get them added to the group. And an update that our community of practices and office hours are going well, and they're a great place for your specialists to connect if they have questions about things or are wondering just what it's like for other people. So thank you for making sure they know about them and supporting them in attending, because it's really helping us to elevate what they're wondering about and what they're working on. And that's it. That's all I've got today. Anybody have any questions for me? It's okay if you don't. We'd rather get the information out there so you know what's going on. Oh, Stacy.
Hi. I was wondering, so my struggle every year when we submit council documents is that telling you when classes are scheduled is a complete shot in the dark.
Okay.
There's often, like, nobody knows what's going to happen next spring. They know the classes will happen, but they can't solidify locations. You know, things change. And so just thinking, we don't want you to do extra work either. When you get those class planning forms, are you immediately putting stuff in PDIS, or is there a delay?
I'm not. I have been working and reworking that process because it's been really hard to keep track for exactly that reason. Things change and we understand that. However, this year, what I've done is I've put it all in one place so I can see how many courses you requested and what nights, what days, depending, what times, and who you're hoping to instruct, so that if changes happen, we can track it and make sure we're up to date. This is why we have you do it now, so we know you've got some kind of a plan. And some communities, they plan and they say, this is it. This is when we're doing it next year. And that's just how it goes. Other communities, this is why when we meet to put the courses into PDIS and I sit down with whoever I'm partnering with that, I double check and I say, okay, this is the plan you submitted. Is this still what you're hoping to do, or are you hoping to do something different? So our request is that you have those plans nailed down and finalized 6 to 8 weeks before the course starts, so that we can get it into PDIS appropriately and accurately represent what you want to do. That's why I don't just put everything in PDIS in June and then let everybody have a free-for-all for registration. So does that help, Stacy?
Yes, that helps. And thank goodness you don't put it right in there, because I just thought that could be an incredible waste of your time in a lot of cases.
It can be, but also what I'm seeing is across the state, people really want to know what's happening and when. So I'm trying to find this balance of putting information out there so that people can plan for when they'd like to take a course, and also honoring that I know on your end, many things change. So any, ideas or suggestions you have for me about how I can get some information out there, because people really are desperate to take EQIT and to know what's coming. I would love to hear it. I'd like for us to be able to collaborate.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I think that's it for me, Charlie. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. And to echo what you said, thank you to everybody for getting your documents for our RFA, RFI turned around so quickly. This was, in my time doing it, by far the most seamless document gathering and collection and uploading that I've had. So thank you all so much for your help with that and prioritizing it, especially, there were a couple going on at the same time, and it was a really intense few weeks there. So thank you. We made it through. Hopefully a little bit of time to catch our breath. All right, we have Christy on to give some E&E updates.
Hi, everybody. I'm here. We're all here. Hi, it's 2:00 on a Thursday. And we took a month off of E&E updates, and I'm back. So let's jump right in. First of all, with E&E updates, I just wanted to let everybody know that any E&E applications that have not already been marked eligible, that haven't been approved, they might still be under review. It looks like they're under review or on hold. I'm going to be working through all of those. I'm marking them as ineligible so that in Salesforce we have eligible and ineligible E&E applications. When I mark it ineligible, the provider will receive an email, and just wanted to give all of the councils a heads up about that, because you might get some questions. It's just due to no more funding. The next update is an invoice update, and we've got the base invoice templates. I've been working through emailing you the most up-to-date invoice template for those councils that have E&E grantees. And we do need to get our 2024 invoices all caught up. So just know that I'm on top of all of the invoices that I've received so far. So if you send it to me, I'll process that as quickly as possible. And then in regards to the GAE invoice templates, they are currently getting updated. So you received one, and it was with your approved budget from way back, approved, I don't even know when, 2022. So we're getting those approved budgets up to date so they match what's in Salesforce, and I'll be sending those to you as soon as they are ready. And Salesforce. I'm very excited to announce that the reconciliation report is up and running. So we had our interim process where you were submitting the E&E ready for billings report. I think I'm missing a few words, but that interim process is over. I want you to use the reconciliation report in Salesforce and then the right invoice template and submit that into OnBase. And then contract amendment updates. So some of you have heard from me that you need to update your budget using the partial year budget template. In that budget template, you need to include all of your spending up to date plus the amended amount if your contract is being increased. And if you have any questions about the budget template that I've sent you or how you can fill it or need to fill it out, just reach out to me. I'm happy to meet. Next week is pretty open. So I just put that out into the universe that it's pretty open. And I will meet with you one-on-one and we can talk through your budget. Julie, I see your hand. I'm going to get through this slide and then I'll get to you. And then something that came to my attention is that the indirect rate has changed for, it looks like on my list for those councils with E&E grantees, that there are 7 councils whose indirect rate has changed from 10% to 15%. And we're going to have to make sure that your budget is all up to date. So I will reach out to you about that. Currently, someone from fiscal is meeting with someone with contracting about this issue specifically, the change from 10% to 15%. So once I have more details, I'll reach out to those 7 specific councils and we'll walk through it all together. Contracting is working on our E&E amendments. And so the hope is, in the next couple of weeks, those will be all wrapped up. As always, you can come to office hours on Wednesdays at 10. You can come with your spending request questions. The best ways to support providers is they're filling out their spending requests. You can also come with any amendment questions, budget questions, or invoice template questions as well. And then I always have that link if your grantees need to transfer funds within their awarded amount for their E&E grant. Julie, I saw a thumbs up, so I think that your question got answered. If not, feel free to come off mute. And anybody else that has any E&E questions? Okay. Great. That's all I have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christy. Happy to know that that reconciliation report is up and running. We've been waiting for a long time, so that's exciting. I was going to talk about QRIS updates, but just to clarify what Christy's referring to, so with the indirect rate changing, so with the most current budgets that we sent out, the indirect rate was automatically calculated at 15%, which it's been raised to for this fiscal year. So if you use the budget template without noticing, you did use a 15% indirect rate. If you wanted to stay at 10%, that is totally acceptable. We just ask that you email us a justification as to why you want to stay at 10%. But if you did opt into that 15% indirect rate for your next fiscal year contracts, then you will also have to amend your E&E budget to match whatever indirect rate you're choosing for fiscal year 25-26, because you need to have the same indirect rate across all contracts within the CDEC. Rebecca, am I missing anything there?
Nope, that was exactly what I was going to say. Just paying attention to some councils, as you all know, have many contracts. And so wanting to make sure it's clear that it needs to be consistent, whether you do the 10% or the 15%. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, no worries. So reach out to your QRIS coordinator if you have any questions around that. All right, we have applies to QIT as well. Yes, beginning fiscal year 26, so beginning July 1st. That will be at 15%. Same with quality improvement funding. That will be changing to 15% indirect after the 1st of July. All right, so yeah, a quick late addition, we have Miss Brenda Mays, who is still working here. No, I know.
Somebody had told me. Thank you, Julia. Thank you for checking in on me. I appreciate it.
And well, You and Brenda recently became a grandma, so
Yes.
hopefully you've been spending some time with the grandbaby. We're so excited for
Yes.
you.
And I was trying to keep in work mindset, Charlie. Now you just made me think of Luca again. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, we have a beautiful, healthy, my grandbaby, my first grandbaby, and the whole house is thrilled and in love with this new child. Okay, so I just wanted to borrow 5 minutes. I wasn't on the agenda. I chatted Charlie. Can I just borrow 5 minutes? You may or may not know that we've been putting out surveys to see how we might improve, align, make things more clear with the credential. We put out an experience letter survey prior. That work group is working now to get a better experience letter template approved and in the system for you. Now, what I'd like to know is we're going to switch subjects to the CDA. Currently, the CDA is not fully recognized in the ECPC. We're well aware of this. We would like to know what you think about your experience with the CDA and what we might do to fully recognize the CDA in the ECPC. This is just to say, if you would please keep your eyes out for this survey, which I hope we can get posted on the PDIS user dashboard this next week, and that will also be in the next PDIS newsletter. I'm not going to share it with you here because it's undergoing final edits. I just wanted to kind of give a heads up. We're looking for as many responses as possible, hopefully about 350 or more. The letters, we ended up being around 250. It's for folks who have had a CDA, currently hold a CDA, or might be interested in pursuing a CDA. Julia Brink, CDA specialist, what's going on? Your question.
I am not a CDA specialist.
Oh, come on. Okay.
I know the CDA. Let's be
Yeah.
real. But a QI program specialist. I just trying to figure out is because can we get this link so we can send it to? I mean, you know, we've done well over 400 CDAs.
Mm-hmm.
Probably closer to like 700-800 over the years, but just how can we best support and make sure that we're capturing all the data, because we still have all that communication and emails and stuff that it may not be in PDIS.
Absolutely. So what I was thinking is that earlier I reached out to you and Carly Raffensperger about being subject matter experts. So this group intends to reach out to the two of you in the very near future. And we will include that link for the groups that you work with. Will that work for you?
Of course, Brenda. It will be amazing. We just want to ensure that as our work does absolutely encompass the entire state.
Mm-hmm.
Our funding was quite a lot. But we're still supporting and finding that Head Starts are actually getting parents through this process. And so we really, really
in
want
fact,
to continue to move forward.
That point is made in this survey as well, Julia, with the Head Start group. And even that high school pathway. So watch for this survey because those are the things we want to hear about. Okay. And we will do our best to get this fully recognized as a national credential. We've been remiss in the way it is recognized currently in the ECPC, and we want to make sure that we are recognizing the folks who are going through this kind of intense and very relevant process. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. That's all I wanted to say. Please watch your PDIS dashboard, your PDIS newsletter, and I will get with those folks like Julia and Carly who are dealing directly with the folks obtaining CDAs and renewing them. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay, so we just have a couple quick QRS updates. Like I mentioned, indirect rate is changing. Just be aware, make sure your contracts are uniform. If not, we will be doing our checks on our end to make sure that they are. We have our WIG update. Karen, are you giving that
Yep.
All right, cool. And then we'll just have a quick update from Danielle about some enhancements that were released last week. So cool. All right, take it away, Karen.
Okay, so I'm going to do a quick WIG update for you guys. As a reminder, we're the Child Care Provider Quality WIG, and that our charge was to move 5% of Colorado Shane's Quality Rating and Improvement System eligible child care providers from level 1 or 2 into high quality levels. So I just wanted to share with you guys where we are for March, and this would be February data. So we have grown by 66 net new high quality programs. So that's pretty good. Our goal was 122. And as you know, we're in March, so that only leaves us 3 months left. So that means we would need an additional 66 more to meet our goals. So that's going to be a bit more challenging. Actually, 56, it looks like. So my math is wrong. But I just wanted to share with you, I am reporting it as off track just because that would mean, almost 30 per month, and that isn't likely. We don't see those kinds of numbers. So just giving you an update on that. Here's a graph that kind of shows where our growth has been as a percentage. And remember, as the denominator fluctuates, sometimes the percentage goes up or down because of that. So we're really kind of focused in on the numbers of new providers that we are tracking. So our lead measures, which I've shared with you guys before too, we have like 3 lead measures under this goal, which is just strategies that we think will help us get to reach the goal. And so this one is really interesting because we've been following a cohort since of 2023. Those who signed MOUs with us, who are level 1 and level 2, kind of to see how we were doing on meeting that 18-month and 24-month timelines within our MOU. And we have some good news and some not so good news. So I will kind of share the statistics on that. I know this is in your PowerPoint or in the PowerPoint, so you guys can pull it up and look at it. But so because I know it doesn't always resonate, it's small print on the screen. But just as an example, the cohort that we were following, we had 104 level 1s, and 82 of those have moved to a level 2 or higher. So that's, almost 80%. So we're really close in meeting our goal there. So that's great. The not so great news is of our level 2s that were to move to 3 through 5, 88 of them, of 317, 88 did move up in quality, which is good. But 174 of them, 55%, have remained at level 2. And another 22, 7%, dropped to level 1. So this is where, as we know, we're coming up against, we did this year, shortages to meet the demand of our quality improvement. We really need to be looking at those programs who are not meeting the requirements of their MOU, and really making sure that we're not continuing to fund a provider who's not following through. So we're going to help with this. We're going to try to get you guys a little bit better standardized reporting on this, so you can kind of see my MOU was signed on this date. This is the level they were at this date. Here's the 18-month mark. Here's the 24-month mark, to help you track this more closely. So, because if you don't have a mechanism to track right now, this is something that you're really going to want to set up. And we're going to try to meet and help get you some reports that you can follow this a little bit more closely. So, so this will be an area that we want to work together on in this upcoming next year. And then our lead measure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can I ask one quick question?
Sure thing.
Around this quality measure, so my thing is we tell them, like, you're getting funding, you have to do this to this, and level 2s, you have to move to there. However, our coaches are still tied to the GAE funding, and my goal would be to try and bring on, like, set a goal, like from July, that first quarter, we bring everyone on, right? And then move forward. But with the restrictions around how coaches are paid, we just accept anyone so that we can make sure our staff are paid. So I'm just curious if there's any plan in the future to really think about how we're using our coaches and managing that. Because I have 2.5 coaches. So in July, I have to say, okay, 2.5 coaches, 2 of you can't work for 3 months, while the other half-time person helps onboard people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then by, about October, November, we're full. And so I think that needs to be mentioned. I think it's a hindrance because we're rushing to bring in folks no matter what. And there are new people that should really be getting like priority and stuff. And we really can't measure that based on the fact that we're still trying to pay staff.
Right. And I think that's a really good point, Julianne, something we need to unpack, because if I'm at the Gov's office and I don't have the context of that, right, I'm looking at this going, well, this doesn't really look like these funds are really helping us move the needle. And so that's some things we're really having to grapple with as we kind of explain all of this work. And I think that we need to honestly, like, I think everything's open for revision or review at this point in time to think of how this is going to work better for us going forward. So thanks for bringing that point up. So we also have a lead measure to meet with you guys at least monthly to kind of discuss successes and barriers, and that's been going well. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And then I just did want to let you know, like when you're talking to your coordinator, really let them know what's going well and what's not going well so that we can share those stories as we report into, our goal attainment. Our other measure was to really look at all of our early childhood councils and who was at that state level average. We froze this at the beginning of the state fiscal year, which was 30.9%. We're a little higher than that now, but we'll continue to follow our 18 ECCs. We had 2 that, jumped off of that list, which was great. And we're working with a few others that are getting close. So we'll just continue to monitor that process as well. And so so I know that was a really quick update. Your coordinator can dig into this stuff with you when you're having your monthly calls with them. So don't hesitate to share that information. I'm happy to also, have conversations with you guys about it too. And just as an update, we're working on our wildly important goals for next year, and we will continue to have a quality goal. And it might look slightly different, like our lead measures that we call them may look a little different, but we will still continue to be looking at the measurement. This is a really important goal for our governor's team, and we want to continue to work on that together. So I think I saw a hand. If not,
yes.
Otherwise, feel free to unmute yourself and let's just have a conversation if need be.
I have a question. If a program is already a level 5 program, and say after they receive their rating the second time, do they have to, can a program request a rating even though they don't have a MOU with their council?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But we do encourage, you continue to work with those high quality programs because it costs, dollars to continue to maintain that. It's great to have that coaching support through that as well. So those QI dollars are really meant to not only help providers sustain their high quality, but also to gain in their high quality. So yeah, Heather.
I'm sure that this has already been brought up, but I'm just wondering, is there a working group between quality improvement and universal preschool to talk about how the rollout of the quality standards are going to impact the move along this QI process? In our particular catchment area, we have a lot of public preschool classrooms that are now even more than ever less likely to engage in the crosswalk process for Colorado Shines. And if half of my license numbers are associated with school districts, I don't know how we're going to increase our engagement now with the kind of like dual quality process going on between the two parts of the department.
Right. And that's a great question. I know, Rebecca, you want to take that one because there's some work in process going on.
Yeah, great question, Heather. I think there's going to be a couple of pathways that we're going to be working on related to this. There is an internal effort right now working with our partners at CoLab and Child Trends around deepening the alignment. The commitment by the department is to ensure that there is one quality system, that we don't have one for UPK and one for everyone who's not a UPK provider. In order to get there, there's a lot of kind of nuance, as you're bringing up, that we need to think through. Some local communities have very unique needs in terms of their context. So we will have some groups, at least one or more groups, that will be meeting around this process over the next year and a half. But there will also be some individual conversations that we're going to want to have with those of you leading council work as well as LCOs. So we're still getting kind of that timeline and the rollout in place for that, but we anticipate being able to get things really moving toward the end of this fiscal year and into July. So know that we will be coming back to this group in the months to come with further updates about where the engagement opportunities are. And we feel really excited about the opportunity to improve some of the things that haven't gone the way we've wanted to in the current QRIS, but also maintain that system as the one we all want to be working toward for quality across contexts across the state. So I hope that answered your question. And Julia, jump on in.
Thank you so much. So my question is related to Karen. I think the person had asked that what happens if they're not in the CSQI, ESQI, TSQI grant and they want to go through the rating. Is there still a cost to them?
No.
So
The
it's
cost-
free no matter what.
cost, but it's absorbed at the state level.
So I appreciate that. And then thinking about as we're moving forward with these quality initiatives is, so I recognize we're talking about, and Heather put it out, is there's the council and there's the UPK, and we're going to align them. But we all know we're struggling for funding, right? So how is that going to work out to be supportive of both organizations or entities?
Well, I think right now we're thinking in terms of what we do currently, and what we do currently might not look exactly like what we're going to do next year or the year after. I think next year is going to be super pivotal in kind of revisioning maybe how we best use the funding that we have in a way that really is going to help us, meet our overall goals. And that might mean part of it's alignment, part of it's like maybe our Colorado Shine system needs some tweaks. It's about that time that we start doing that anyway. Maybe the way we go about, issuing ratings needs to look different. So we think that there's some real opportunities here in this next year to really learn from the national landscape of where things are, and to just, start to think about, can we do things more efficiently? And is there technology tools that can help us more, and those sorts of things. So I think it's going to be a really exciting time for us to come together and start to think through these things.
Lisa, you've been waiting.
Thank you. One, I do want to say I very much appreciate the discussions that are beginning regarding aligning systems, because that was always the hope, right? So, but the other thing that I wanted to bring up in terms of, we're looking at data regarding ratings across the state, but it feels like we are at the same time ignoring a community that has far more resources within it because they made that choice, that is throwing off the work of all of the other communities that don't have that, and we're comparing them. And it, being in a community and here in Weld County, it feels unfortunate to make that equivalency, because it's not. Not that I don't want to support programs to have high quality experiences for children in the program. So I just wanted to say that, because I know we are one of the ones that has the smallest number, and we're also impacted by the fact that in our community, our Head Start programs are all standalone. Whereas when I was in Larimer County, our Head Start programs were within a public school system, and that impacted every single one of their programs, versus the situation that I'm dealing with now. I had 3 school districts in that case. We have 17 that touch this county. And we have had one who have done the crosswalk system. It took quite a while for them to get that award. And I'm hearing that there might be some discussion about that crosswalk as well, which would be the other thing that could significantly impact a community like mine.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Go
You
ahead.
want to take any of that, Karen, or?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I will just start that we are looking, Lisa, well, Dawn with Universal Preschool and Rebecca and others in our internal group, along with some of our partners, the Colorado Lab and Butler, starting to look at that alternative pathway process specifically for school districts, because there's so much already built into the district that is quality process. So I think that is one of those things that will probably actually have kind of a goal that will drive us a little bit more next year on that process. But Rebecca, what do you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. And then just affirming, Lisa, that there are so many unique contexts within each community, and Weld is a perfect example of kind of really needing to understand how the cost of care is operating within that community, and either driving quality or limiting a program's ability to really engage in quality. And we have some new research that we've been getting insight into around really the cost of quality at each of those levels, and the unique considerations that we need to have as a state. So I'm excited that this group can be a part of, as council leaders, you can all be a part of helping us to kind of reimagine some of what we might be wanting to do in the next several years, just as Karen mentioned earlier. So know that you will be a part of this. We'll be bringing things either through ECLA or to you or to individual meetings, or even to like work groups that we stand up to kind of discuss these pieces. And that is what we're trying to figure out right now. How do we move this forward with the right participation and engagement? To think about alternative pathways, to think about the cost of care, to think about where are the barriers that are existing right now in your communities for people to be willing to come in and sustain quality. So just really so grateful to have these important folks at the table, all of you who've got years of experience dealing with this on the ground and supporting providers.
And I want to just say I so appreciate the willingness to listen to the comments. You know, wherever it goes from here, it'll go from here, because we can't fix everything. But I do appreciate being heard. Thank
But
you.
we can get started, Lisa, and you can be part of it with us.
You sign me up. You know, and I feel like, oh my gosh, my team working on recruitment of family childcare providers, I think are rock star. We have been in the top 3 for recruitment every month, and the same time we are losing almost the same number of family childcare programs as we are getting open, and that is that other struggle piece. So thank you.
Yeah, you know, when I first started this work, we had more than double the number of family childcare homes than we did centers when we first started in 2013 to raise the top work.
Yeah. You kind of have to go back to, even if you go back to 2003, the number of family childcare programs we had then was so easily double of what we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, other comments, questions? Charlie, anything else on our updates list?
We just have some quick updates from Danielle.
That's right. Oh yeah, our favorite fun system, QIM, should say thank you guys also for going on this journey with us. It has been a journey for sure. And we continue to learn and grow together with all of this. And Danielle's been an outstanding addition to our group to help support this work. So take it away, Danielle.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Yes, it has been a journey. Thank you all for going on the journey with us. I just have a few quick updates. We had enhancement released. Some of the enhancements I wanted to highlight were the summary report. Now, on the funding stream, you will find under related on attachments all of your summary reports you have previously generated. That was one of the updates. Another update was a fix to an error where you were not able to mark coaching records as complete. That fix was in there. You should be able to have moved forward. I haven't seen any cases there. So I feel like that's good to go. The reconciliation report updates were released. I believe that was discussed. The PO has also had some updates. We'll have more updates, but right now the update that was released was adding item quantity to the PO and also adding the program name to the PO. So that was released as well. That was exciting, and we do have more exciting PO releases coming up. In the coaching portal, it was released that legacy data has been removed. So when they use the dropdown to log their coaching, it is just going to be the relevant funding streams for them to choose out of and not have to fill through all of the legacy data. There was an update to documents. So I know that there has been an issue with uploading documents on spending request and for the providers. They could only choose one for each type. They are able to upload 5 for each type with a total of 15. They do have a max of 5 megabytes for each document. So if they are going to be larger than that, continue to work with them on the back end, getting those in, but they can do 5 uploads for each document type. I'm going to skip that one and circle back to it. Now QI navigators are able to generate the PO throughout the process, through their approval process. The ENI reconciliation report was released. Christy had mentioned that. And with that, you may not have seen your spending, your ENI coaching spending list view that has been updated. So you do have your capital improvement and learning materials and other are on one ready to be billed, not ready to be billed spending list. And the other one is your internal and external coaching also have 2 reports underneath your list views for you to go onto. And with the generation of ENI, some of you did receive an email from me asking you to go through the old process that we use, that report, the ENI ready for spendings. If you have not responded to that, please respond to that as soon as possible. That way data load of what has been invoiced and didn't automatically get changed. That way, so you're not pulling it in twice, and we're also not pulling in and marking things billed to funder that you recently put in. So if you could respond to that as soon as possible, that would be great. Another email will come through going to confirm your address is still the same. That's been pulled from Salesforce. I do believe some of you have moved and may have a different address, or billing addresses are different. We need that for the updates coming out to the POs to make sure that billing addresses and mailing addresses are correct. And one more kind of update and want to talk through, I know it's causing some frustration, is if a provider submits a order through the marketplace vendor, those subtotal and totals are getting locked to you because the prices should be correct coming from the vendors. I understand that that's coming through and it's not the case. I can work with you one-on-one to get those updated. And I'm also working the vendors to make sure that those prices are correct and being honored. So I do know it's another step in there for you to do, but I do appreciate all of you just sending that in, and we'll work with you on there. You can send an help desk ticket if it's just needs to be updated. Hey, can you update this field, this is what it should be. And I can do a quick fix to it as well. So that was my quick overview. Karen, Charlie, Michelle, Lilith, if I've missed anything, please let me know.
I was only going to just add, it's really, really, really helpful for us to have the help desk tickets, because it also gives us data on tracking, what the challenges and issues are, so that we can also determine capacity and things of that sort. So if you would continue to do that, that's really helpful for us. Thank you.
And Carly, quick question.
Yes, just quick question. Danielle, is that locked fields like now moving forward, or is that all of that, everything we have in the system will be?
Anything that is marked as a marketplace vendor, those totals, the spending detail totals and the subtotal and total is locked.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen, did you want to expand on your comments? It might be helpful.
I mean, I can, and I could be reading into what Danielle is saying a little too much, but I mean, I probably have to change, the amounts on the invoices, like maybe when things were running properly, I'd probably change them at least 50% of the time. And that was when the system was running regularly. So I definitely think that there's no way that just because it's a marketplace vendor, like it will never be just this glorious day of having invoices all match up every time we get them back. Especially
the name of the game is watch them closely, right? So.
Right, for sure. Especially because other vendors, kind of like Becker's, for example, we don't know what their freight is going to be until we get their invoice. And it's only because that they choose an item, and if the item has a freight truck next to it, it's gonna have freight charges. And like, I don't know that coming from QRIS. They can only see that when they're looking at the site itself. So, and I don't know that freight was ever, it never got added in the first place when things were working properly beforehand. So hopefully that makes sense. If you want to talk more, we totally can. I just didn't want to get your hopes up thinking that marketplace vendors would be this glorious.
Right.
Perfect invoice.
Thank you, Kristen. That's great feedback. That is good for me to hear, because I've already brought this back to our developers and we've discussed it. So that's just more feedback for me to bring back. It's not a now issue. It could be an ongoing issue, and that this should possibly be a field that stays unlocked. So I do appreciate that feedback. I definitely hear you, and I will bring that back to the developers and keep you updated.
You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, Lisa, go ahead.
I not with E&E, but with the CSQI stuff, I see that there's been a change with the summary report. And as I worked through that and I tried to deal with the issue that the numbers that are being used don't actually match the amount of dollars that we are spending because of whatever it is behind it. And I used to think it was discounts and shipping that was throwing that off, but I now can tell you that is not what it is. So I'm just wondering, we schedule another meeting to talk through what I see so that we can try to figure out why it doesn't math the way my brain think it should math at least.
Yeah, Lisa, let's set something up with you and me and Danielle. And I would love to see what you're saying. Please.
Okay.
Yeah. Always, Lisa, anytime you need support.
All right, thanks.
All right, and I know Danielle had to hop. We have our office hours for QIM. Those are. Someone remind me when those are. Now I have them on here somewhere. We do have our QIM office hours.
I think they're at 1. Are they at 1?
Weekly. Oh yeah, 1 o'clock today. Or not.
They're at 1 o'clock on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Except for today.
Except for
because of
state
our
TA
state
day.
TA day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alicia. Yes. So feel free to hop into those if you continue to have questions or reach out to us. And I believe that's all we had for our March State TA Day. It ended up being a very information-filled State TA Day. So thank you all for hanging on. We'll send out the recording and the agenda as soon as we get it uploaded onto YouTube. Any other questions, comments, concerns, celebrations? All right. Well, thank you all again for the amazing work that you do. Julie, what's up?
I just wanted to point out, maybe we could have a meeting around the QRIS stuff specific. I mean, you know, all these council directors and coordinators have so much going on in their lives and they want to know what's going on. But the people, you know, for us that are trying to deal with the systems, I'm wondering if we couldn't have like you, Danielle, Michelle, Karen, whoever, on a call where we can just walk through some stuff. It would be appreciated.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why we set up the office hours. If that's not working, then we can look at another option.
So I do attend the office hours with Danielle from time to time, but I think maybe just a big overall, guys, we need to talk and here's what's happening would be really beneficial. And then obviously Danielle's wonderful and she's keeping us up to date and meeting with us and stuff. So I just want to put that out there. But ultimately, I think that would give us an opportunity to ask some questions for those of us that are actually doing the clicking and buttons and not take so much time away from all these lovely individuals that are super busy making sure their community's early childhood work is happening. So just a thought.
Great.
Yeah, we can definitely set something up kind of like a where we're at with QIM, especially as we're nearing the end of the fiscal year. I think that would be a great idea. Getting ready to start up for next week, or sorry, I'm reading and talking at the same time. Especially as we're preparing for next year, we want to make sure we've learned all of our lessons this year, so next year we can get things going without a hitch. So yes, I appreciate that. All right, anything else? Thank you all so much. It's wonderful to see everyone. Thank you for the incredible work you're doing. And we look forward to seeing you all next month. enjoy the warm weather next couple of days while you can. I think it's stormy next week. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie, for leading us today.
Of course.
Thank you.